Hey guys, what's going on? I figured we're in 2024 now, and there's a lot of things that I see popping up that I just wish that when I was starting out in, 99, which is a very long time ago now, that I wish I had, to take advantage of when I first started breaking. I have a lot of questions growing up. I have a lot of things I had no idea growing up. I got lucky, met a lot of people at, a random teen event. And when I say teen event, I mean like a teen night event where a bunch of teenagers get together at like a YMCA and they have a dance and they have a bunch of stuff for people to do. So luckily, I met a bunch of dancers there, and we kind of I had the experience to kind of journey my beginnings with a brand new group of people, right? So we all were finding things out together. It was very different. We didn't really have social media like that back then, so we kind of had to go to events, meet people that way. We had a lot of guidance growing up. Very thankful for all the older guys that helped us out. But back then compared to today is very drastically different with the ways that we can learn about breaking. I mean, I can go online, type in Flare, and see 15 million tutorials today versus when I was growing up. The only way for me to learn a Flare 90 was to record a commercial from a game. It was a Madden game, I'm pretty sure. Somebody from the Jets team did a Flare 90 in the game, and I recorded it on VHS and had to play it in slow motion to see if I could understand how a Flare 90 was actually done. Sounds ridiculous, right? But that's the way that technically I was trying to learn Flare 90 back then. Today, I can go to YouTube, a very easy Flare to 90 tutorial, and it will come up, right? So here are some tips that I kind of can give you guys for now to kind of understand, hey, breaking is not very, it's much more than just what you see and how, just the easy moves that people can do. So, couple things. One, moves are going to take time for you, okay? Six-step, very easy to learn, right? I can learn a six-step. I can teach a six-step, and I've seen people learn a six-step within a matter of, I don't know, a minute, right? Six-step is very easy to learn. Moves are not about just learning the move and doing the move. For somebody experienced in the community, like myself, I will be able to spot somebody who just learned doing a six-step a month ago versus somebody that's been doing a six-step for 20 years, right? It's not like this all the time, but majority of the time, people aren't even going out there and doing just a six-step, right? Six-step is a foundational tool to learn to transition into other steps, right? But learning moves takes time, okay? It's not about just learning the move. It's about mastering the move, all right? Six-step especially. Now, when we get into power moves also take time. I think it's one of the most asked questions I usually get. Oh, how long did it take you to learn blah, blah, blah move, right? Each move is different for each person. Some people I've heard gotten an air flare in 2 weeks, right? Versus other people that will never have an air flare, right? So that's just the way it is. Everybody's body is different. Everybody has different flexibility. You have to build muscle up. You have to build flexibility. So going to tutorials on YouTube is very, 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 it can be demotivating because you will say to yourself, I will never be able to do this. I'm telling you right now, it is very rare that I've ever met somebody that if they stuck to a move that they never got it, right? It's very rare that that ever happens. But most power moves are going to take time. It's not for everybody. Some people aren't going to be able to be that flexible in certain moves. We'll take air flares, for example. Flexibility in your shoulders is a big part of it. But if you don't have a lot of flexibility in your shoulders, you make up for it in whip, right? There's certain ways that you can always make up a power move. But moves will take time. Please don't be demotivated. I know flares took me months to get, and I've pretty much mastered them at this point. When I know other people who it looks like they've mastered flares within a week. So don't be demotivated. It takes time. All right, tip number 2, don't be intimidated by dancers in general, all right? Most of the dancers in the community, very nice people, okay? Especially with today. I can say maybe a little different when I was growing up, but today most people are very nice. Most people are welcoming. If you have any questions for dancers, hit them up on Instagram. It's very simple, right? Most dancers will get back to you. I'm not saying all of them. Some of them can be jerks sometimes, but most of them will help you out. right? If you ever need to find a training spot, guys, it's very important to build with the community. I know people want to have this hard, face on when you start breaking and you want to look tough. But people put it on as a show, right? As a b-boy, when you're battling, you're supposed to be aggressive. You're right. You're battling somebody. It's why people usually have that face on. Don't be intimidated by it. Deep down, everybody has a soft heart. As corny as that sounds, it's true. A lot of people, they might look like they're very angry, but when you get to talk to them a little bit, you realize that a lot of this stuff is just an act, which, it's always been part of breaking. So if you're intimidated by somebody, if you're intimidated by the dancers and how good they are in general, do not be intimidated. Most of the scene is welcoming. The scene is big, but also at the same time, the scene is kind of small. So everybody's usually very welcoming. If you need to find practice spots, if you need to find anything, there are Discords, there are ways that you can even hit me up on Instagram and I will help you out. It's a lot of the times I get messages on, hey, I'm going to be in, I don't know, Indiana for the weekend. Do you have any recommendations for practice spots for people to hit up? I can easily just go online, probably find somebody from the area at least to kind of get connected to somebody in Indiana, and we'll help you out. So, yes, most of us are very welcoming to the community. Do not be intimidated. I know it's scary. I know people get intimidated just coming fresh into a community, but reach out and, we'll help out the best that we can. All right, so tip 3. This is about practicing. Another question I usually get a lot is, what do you practice, right? Do you practice footwork all on one day? Do you practice power all on one day? I'm going to be honest with you. I've never set myself to a structured practice. Maybe it works for people. For me, it did not. I like to have fun when I break. I don't want to make it feel like a job. I think that's the part where a lot of people start to get burned out, is when you start to make breaking feel like a job. I know for me personally, traveling is what really burned me out, and just going to an event on a weekend for a day and having to fly back, like a 23-hour flight back just to get home for 3 days and leave the next weekend to do it all over again. And, burnout comes from that way. So it started to feel like work, and that's why I kind of just stopped flying out for competitions and whatnot. So avoid burnout at all costs. And burnout will come if you're starting to make this feel like work. So do not make this feel like work. Practice anything you want. If you want to set yourself to a schedule, it's completely fine. I don't think there's any set way to do it. Personally, for myself, guys, I went to practice. I worked on power. I worked on footwork some nights. I worked on just power some nights. I worked on just footwork some nights. I worked on just freezes some nights. Some nights I just went and kind of just freestyle for the entire night and didn't care about anything. So I don't think it really matters. I think it matters about you moving and you just having a good time at the end of the day. But just make sure you're practicing, right? Yeah, not all practice is going to be just freestyling. I think it is good to sit there and set yourself up some nights and be like, hey, tonight I'm drilling flares all night. Completely fine. And I think that's probably what you should be doing sometimes to at least get moves down, right? Power moves especially, it is a motion and it is a feeling. You should be practicing. Once you get one flare down, you should be practicing and drilling that flare down to continue to get used to that flare, because you're going to start putting it into your rounds or adding them into transitions. So you should be as comfortable as you can. And the more you practice something, the more comfortable you get, right? The better your flow is, the more you practice. So practice what you want, but just don't make it a job, right? But again, you need to be practicing, and you should kind of have a structure set to you in a way where you are at least practicing something that you really want to get down. All right, tip number 4. Get asked this question as well. Stretching and lifting weights. Guys, stretching is going to be different for everybody. Some people are more flexible than other people. Personally, for myself, I barely stretched at practice. I would stretch for 10-30 seconds, in a straddle before I went to practice, and then I'd loosen up while I was practicing. So I'd go a little bit light in the beginning, and then I probably would stretch a little bit at the end. But I never did 15 minutes of stretching in the beginning and 15 minutes of stretching at the, if you're very unflexible, you feel inflexible, guys, stretch. You know what I mean? For me, I felt very flexible when I was dancing, so I never stretch that much. It definitely is going to help you, decrease the injuries that you get. To be honest, I didn't get injured that much. I think probably the extent of my injuries has been probably the worst injuries I've had has been a groin tear, MCL issue, and this is with 25 years of dance. So yeah, I can say I kind of made it out dancing very, very much better than I expected I was going to be. So stretching, guys, just make sure that you are stretching for yourself, right? Everybody's going to be different. If you need to stretch more, stretch more. If you need a guide on stretching, there are plenty of guides online to help you out stretching. But if you feel like you don't need to stretch that much, don't stretch that much. I think it's going to differ from every person. Just be safe. If you feel something that your body is telling you, hey, this isn't feeling right, settle down and do not injure yourself. Number 2, if you do get injured, rest it. Rest your injuries because they are always going to come back if you do not let them heal correctly. I can attest to this. Many other dancers can say the same thing. Injuries, when you do get them, please rest them. It really matters. I know you're going to have the itch to dance. If you're going to dance in any way, do not use that injured part. Whatever it is, do not use it. There are ways to kind of the good thing about breaking is, if you are injured, you can kind of work around that injury. If you injure your leg, well, you can do anything handstand wise, right? If you injure your hands, well, you can do no-handed footwork. You can do tops. You can do, there's a way to kind of get the exercise in that you need, or the movement comfortability for you, even if you're injured, no matter what you're injured with. As long as you're not injured on multiple parts of your body at the same time, then you're in trouble. Other than that, stay safe. Make sure you're stretched. If you're injured, do not use your injury. Easy as that. All right, so let's talk about lifting weights real quick, just very fast, because it is also something that I usually get asked. Does lifting weights help with breaking? In a sense, yes. It is going to make you stronger. You are going to be able to hold yourself up much more easily. But the issue with this is you're going to sacrifice that, right? You're going to sacrifice flexibility. You're gaining muscle. You're going to lose your flexibility in certain spots of your body. For example, your shoulders. If you gain muscle in your shoulders, the flexibility of you bending your shoulders around is going to be limited a little bit, right? So you're going to have to make up for that loss of flexibility some way with whip, maybe doing the move completely differently. I've seen it done before. There's plenty of people that are more jacked that are doing air flares that work around the flexibility. They use more of a whip motion for their power, or just some bigger people are able to have that flexibility in their shoulders. But just saying, if you are lifting weights, just be prepared that if you are building muscle in certain areas of your body, you could potentially lose the flexibility. So at the end of the day, is lifting weights helpful? Yeah, in a sense. Just depends on how much weight you're lifting, right? Personally, for myself, I never lifted a weight. Okay, I didn't. It's not like I never lifted a weight in my entire life, but for breaking, I did not lift any weights at all. Never went to a gym, nothing. I think my body and your body is going to get used to lifting the weight it needs, and will build the muscle that way. The more that you practice air chairs, you're going to build muscle in that specific area of your body when you break, which is why anytime that you break and your whole entire body feels like, whoa, it feels like I just got hit by a truck, it's because you're working your whole entire body out, Breaking involves much more than you think. You think an air chair is just, I don't know, my wrist, but the air chair is everything up here as well. The air chair is much more... and I'm not just talking about air chair. I'm talking about like every single move in breaking. There is a muscle that you are working out, right? To pinpoint muscles, you would be stretching on every single machine basically every day. So lifting weights, in a sense, yes, it will help you out. But you just have to be mindful of what you're lifting, how much you're lifting, and just understand the sacrifices that you're going to be making with flexibility. How old is too old to start breaking? Guys, you're never too old and you're never too young to start breaking. There are 3-year-olds today that are doing one-handed air flares, right? So you shouldn't be intimidated by a 4-year-old child doing probably some of the hardest power moves that are in dancing when, people at the age of 25, people at the age of 18, people at the age of 35 will never do an air flare or have no interest in doing an air flare. You don't need big moves to be good in breaking. Breaking is more about your character and the way that you are presenting yourself towards breaking. Now, that doesn't mean to totally throw away any of the structure that was given to us. Breaking is a structure, right? There is a structure in breaking. It doesn't mean you just go out there, you spin on your back, and that's it. That's breaking. Technically, it is, but when we are talking about competition-wise or cipher-wise, there is much more to breaking than just somebody spinning on their head. It's very deep. There is a lot of vocabulary to learn. Again, this is why teaching is very important and learning is very important. I didn't have these opportunities when I was growing up. So YouTube, places like YouTube, will give you the perfect resources on learning more about breaking. So if you're thinking about getting into dancing and you're older and you're thinking, okay, there's no way I can do any of this, anybody can do any part of breaking, whether it's you're more focused towards top, and when I say top, I mean top rock. If you're more focused towards footwork, or if you just want to try to learn something new, you want to learn a windmill at the age of, 63. Believe me, there are people out there that are over the age of 60 that are still doing windmills and still doing flares, and it's amazing, I think there's a lot of talk about how we were growing up where, you're going to destroy your body. By the time that you're 50, you're not going to be able to walk. To be fair, most of the people that were talking about that, definitely this was an early dance when people were saying this. Doctors were saying it was an early dance, and I don't think there was enough time to really, give an actual diagnosis of, what was going to be happening to everybody when they got older. So, as of now, there are people still older, breaking, feeling good. So don't let age be any kind of factor into you not wanting to get into it, right? So test it out, take it on a test drive, see how you feel. Pretty sure you're going to enjoy it. So, hi. So guys, that's going to be it for today. I can easily make it a whole nother video, including more tips on how to get into breaking or what you're going to be doing, your first couple months into breaking. But again, if you guys aren't following, like, subscribe, follow the channel. I appreciate it. You guys can head over to my Patreon, patreon.com/breakerbuild. Over there, I think I'm up to about over 30 tutorials now on moves. There's information on how to stay connected with the community, certain things that are happening in the community. Just some talks about originality. Originality goes very deep. I'll probably be posting up some videos on YouTube talking a little bit about originality and creativity. It's a very touchy subject, mainly because it's my dog. Basically, it's a very personal preference on what is cool and what is not cool, so it gets pretty deep. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.